Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning. Good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And we're going to have so much fun today. And so please join me in welcoming Lisa Bragg to our program. Welcome, Lisa. How are you?
I am so well. Thank you for having me here. I'm really excited to talk to you. You're just already so much energy, and enthusiasm is one of the easiest ways to self-promote and show up in this world. So I'm so excited to talk to you.
Cool. We are going to have a blast. Well, let me tell people a little bit about you, and then we will jump into this. So Lisa Bragg has literally written a book on how to talk about your success. Her book, Bragging Rights, How to Talk About Your Work Using Purposeful Self-Promotion, launched in May. She is a speaker, advisor, and a professional mentor. Lisa is the founder of MediaFace, a Toronto-based content and consulting firm. She was also a TV reporter and an anchor for 15 years. So again, Lisa, welcome.
Oh, thanks so much, Deb. Appreciate it.
Great. Well, I always like to know how it is that my guests got to where they are today. And okay, so first thing, your last name really is Bragg, right?
It really is. So my story starts at birth. No, it starts really young. So it's Bragg with 2 G's. And when I was about 13 years old, the age my daughter is right now, I realized, and I'm one of those people, I am a card carrying member of the Gold Star Club, like 90, if you want 99%, where'd the last percent go?
Yep.
How come it's not, I want those gold stars, 5 stars, please.
Front row in class, all of that stuff. They're you and me, sister.
And so many of your listeners, I'm sure, are the same way. And so I would realize that, when they would see the A+ or whatever it is on my sheet, that other people would notice my success. And then eventually got to be, oh, you're going to brag about it? And the eye roll that you get at that age and stage. And then it carries with us. And so I realized young that my success wasn't good for other people and they didn't like it. So I started to hide myself and not be who I'm meant to be because of that. But oddly, I went into broadcast journalism. But back in my day as a journalist, the story was never about me. It was always about the people I was covering. And so it was about, hey, Deb, what are you doing? And, asking you the story, the questions. And yes, I would appear on camera, but it wasn't about me. And so often, though, I'd go up to people and say, hey, you're the expert. I'd love to interview you. And they would say, oh, who, me? Oh, no.
Right.
You
need to talk to my friend Sue.
Yeah, John or Steve. And that would happen over and over and over again. And part of it is that as a journalist, the group would zig and I would like to zag. I always wanted to find the different people to help tell my stories. And that's where people would say, oh, no, I just wait till I get that next certificate. Wait till I get this next thing. Or, oh, I'm not the expert, or I'm not even a leader. And the self-deprecation that would come with it. But I had a chance and I'd say to them, look, let's do some media training right here on the spot. And I would help them without too much coercion. I don't want anyone to think that I was forcing people to do it, but they would be on camera. And then I would see them get another media interview. And then a promotion, and good things would happen to them. And it was so exciting. I still have those thank you cards to this day saying, hey, thanks for that. Yeah. And then I decided to start a content company back before we knew what content was content, doing all this lovely stuff that you do with your clients, videos and social media, animation, all those things that my company did. So started to do that for companies and getting their subject matter experts online for the first time. But then it was always when we'd walk to the elevator and I'd be with the executive who was in charge of the initiative. And she would say to me, Lisa, I see what's going on now for the subject matter expert, but how can you help me with this? And, I feel like I'm a hidden gem. I don't know. And so all these things would come from it. And then I started developing mindset and workshops and keynotes around helping them to be seen and heard, because that's really my red thread,
Mhm.
if I look back, Deb, is really helping people to be seen
Mhm.
and heard. And because together we can do good things. So that's what
I
it
love
is.
it. I
Thanks.
love it. Well, you've got this great book and I had so much fun reading it. And looking at your website, you do focus on women. But obviously the topic is important for everyone. But why is it that you think women have more difficulty bragging about ourselves?
Yeah, you know what? The book is for everyone, like you said,
Mhm.
but really, I have a lot of examples from women. And
Mhm.
I think it's because culturally, in so many of our cultures, we're
Mhm.
taught to be so collective as women.
Mhm.
It's not, my toy, it's our toy. It's,
Mhm.
give somebody else the mic.
Mhm.
It's all about us. It's very much teamwork,
Mhm.
where boys are often taught individual sports. It's their
Right.
win.
Mhm.
It's okay for them to butt in line, like,
And pound their
for
chest. Yeah. Mhm.
yeah. And
Mhm.
so they're used to talking about their successes
Mhm.
because then it also helped them in their own networks,
Mhm.
where we are taught to communicate communally. It's
Mhm.
not mine, it's ours. And so I think
Mhm.
that really becomes ingrained in us as young as
Right.
girls,
Mhm.
and it carries with us. Also, we're
Mhm.
taught to be we have perfectionism in
Mhm.
our lives, where we're
Mhm.
taught that being perfect is a big
Mhm.
part of it. And that perfectionism means that we don't want to talk about our
Mhm.
successes until it's, well, not just this success, it's the
Yeah.
next level success. No,
Right.
no, no, no,
Mhm.
wait, my goalpost has changed. So now
Mhm.
I have to wait till it's all
Mhm.
perfect and I've done all this work. So I'm
Mhm.
above reproach. And that's what keeps so many women as
Mhm.
hidden gems. But I did a lot of research for the book, and I realized, though, it's also people who have come from different socioeconomic classes
Mhm.
also really feel that they're not able to talk about their successes because
Right.
it was all the cultural pieces
Mhm.
that come into it. But
Mhm.
women especially, there's also in the workforce where we've heard the stories about penalties
Mhm.
about speaking out,
Right.
and you've spoken out too much, now too
Mhm.
little. Like, where's the right balance?
Mhm.
And there is no balance. It's, it is a risk, but
Right.
it's a risk of
Mhm.
the challenge is, do you stay invisible, put that
Mhm.
invisibility cloak on,
Mhm.
and it feels corrosive when it's on,
Mhm.
or do you talk about your successes and risk that someone's going to say
Mhm.
something? So, but the research that I conducted internationally said, actually, most of us, 85% of us, are cheering for you and we want to hear you
Right.
bragging.
Mhm.
So it's a good thing. It's a good
Mhm.
thing. But it's definitely women are the first to
Mhm.
say, that's me. But
Mhm.
interestingly, since the book, men are buying the book in bulk for their
Ah,
teams and asking me to
interesting.
come on more and more shows and
Mhm.
really helping
Mhm.
to promote it, seeing that they can
Mhm.
either they've seen it within their teams, or how
Mhm.
can they be the ally to make a difference.
Right.
So it's been interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm one of those that defers, right? Somebody will say, "Hey, Deb, that was a great job that you did." And I'll say, "Thank you, but." you know, and my business coach is like, "Stop that. Stop that." And but it is, we don't want to be seen as the braggart or other B words. Um and and we do want to show that it was a team effort and things like that. And so I think maybe the key is that we do thank you, and then we eliminate the but, and then we can say, kind of how, and especially if we're going to brag about, other people. And I think that's perfectly fine to do, but we need to initially accept that and say thank you.
Absolutely. So let's break down a few things here.
Mhm.
So if somebody gives you a compliment, absolutely say thank you.
Mhm.
And if you feel like butt coming on or
Mhm.
something else, stop it.
Right.
Stop it. You have
Mhm.
nothing else to say. Thank
Mhm.
you. So while we can get into some more tools for
Mhm.
sure, but let's get into what bragging actually means. So
Mhm.
bragging means to talk about your success with pride. And pride
Mhm.
also means self-love.
Mhm.
So we get it confused, though. Bragging, we get it confused with self-aggrandizement.
Right. Mhm.
That's the puffery, the
Mhm.
ickiness, that
Mhm.
I'm better than you kind of
Yes. Mhm.
attitude that
Mhm.
people think it is. But bragging originally in 1325
Mhm.
meant shine and shimmer. It
Mhm.
meant
And we all want to
bravery.
shimmer. Oh my gosh,
We
right?
all want to
Mhm.
shimmer,
Mhm.
but it also meant bravery because it
Mhm.
means telling your stories and going
Right.
first and
Mhm.
sharing your knowledge with other
Mhm.
people. And so, if we can reframe bragging in the sense of it's about service,
Mhm.
when I let you know how I'm here to serve by talking about my successes, then you can say, oh, yes, you know what? We need to partner Lisa with this person. And that's what they need. And then they're going to make something together. And then hopefully, yes, very Pollyanna-esque, but change the world, right? So when we hear from more of our hidden gems who are there ready to be seen and heard, but unfortunately they're waiting for somebody to pluck them out of obscurity and bring them forward. And that just doesn't happen in this day and age. It did maybe happen when we were back in the factory era. And I get into this whole timeline of things and, how we were in the factory era and how we are now in this imagination global era. Now it's very different, but we cling to these old social norms that, you should wait to somebody else to see your successes and not talk about them. And self-deprecation is a good thing. It's like, no, those aren't good things nowadays because everyone's so busy and everything's so loud. So you need to be the beacon and the signal and let people know how you're here to serve.
Right. And I think part of it is we do see that braggadocio, the person who is going, to the extreme. And I mean, it happens with women, with the influencers and, and people like that. And so then we think, oh, we don't want to be seen like that because we do look at that and go, it's kind of icky. It's like, dude, seriously, how many times a day do we have to see something about the Kardashians or, any of those things? And so we think we don't want to be that person.
Oh, Deb, and I struggle with it too. And I wrote the book on it because I am naturally a hidden gem. So I naturally don't want to necessarily put myself out there on social media all the time and scream at everyone and say, look at me, look at me, look at me. But I realize though, I need to tell people how I'm here to serve so they know that I'm here to help them. And then also, how can I shine a light on others?
Right.
Challenge with influencers and the difference with this work is that this is more about how you share your knowledge instead of selling your products. And yes, I know we all need to sell something and it is part of selling, but it's not about selling and saying, right away, go to my funnel and let me trick you into something. But it's a lot about knowledge sharing. How do I share my ideas? How do I claim credit? How do I help myself to help you? And so it's not about, becoming that influencer where you're going to all of a sudden show all your travel photos or sell lipstick or anything like that. It's really about being of service. And if you change that attitude of like, yes, if I do this social post, it will be of service. But if anyone's feeling right now, oh no, I don't want to become a social media influencer. I don't want to do social media at all. My book is still for you. It's not about social media. I only mentioned LinkedIn a few times, but really what it's about is finding that one person that you can help and talking to her and saying, here's how I'm of service to you instead of trying to blast everyone and being wall-to-wall coverage of yourself. It's not about that. It's about, here's how I'm here to serve, shine a light on other people. So let other people know what great work Deb is doing. Give her a 5-star on Amazon, whatever it is. And then sharing that information. But that influencer thing, it makes some of us just, good for them. So I do celebrate them.
I mean, and they've made millions of dollars, which, I'm like, really?
But it's not about that. And so when you're feeling like, oh my goodness, I have to turn into a massive extrovert to do this work. No, you can still be who you are, but I just want you to take off that corrosive invisibility cloak because it's fundamental to the human condition to want to be seen and heard. And when we're not, and we're not getting the clients we deserve, or if you're in corporate, you're not getting the promotions you deserve, that's problematic. Right. It's not, you're not being seen and you become, there's a corrosiveness to it, that bitterness. If you can taste that, you need to stop being a hidden gem and waiting for other people to notice you because they're not going to notice you as much as I'd love it, Deb, for them to come and find me in my book, on my tiny piece of the internet. They're not going to find me. They're
you
too
have
busy.
to talk about it. Yeah,
we do.
And you talked about something else that I love and I want to explore. And that's, it's okay to be giving someone else those kudos, to give them the opportunity to brag. And I think we need to be doing more of that for each other.
Oh, you're singing that's the whole thing.
I read the book.
Because when we can shine a light on others, it comes back to us. So it's that generosity thing. If I can say, and Deb's doing it right now by having me on her podcast, giving me this space to talk to you, her audience, which she loves and cares for. And so curating the right information and the right people is really a gift. So thank you for having me on. I really do appreciate it. But it's really about how do we shine a light on other people? So if you are so afraid of bragging and self-promotion, and self-promotion are the tactics to support your brag. So bragging is talking about your success, and self-promotion are all the tactics. It's being on the podcast. It's writing an email. It's having your profile filled out on some association interweb. It's all of those tactics, those things that you should be doing to let people know you exist in this world. And so when we allow, when we help people with shining a light on them, it comes back to us and they find us in more ways. So, and people need us to. They may not be the people that have been able to shine in the past, but they really do deserve it. So let's give that to other people. But it's really important for you to shine first and then help other people along the way. So light that path up. We can all carry a torch.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny. I have something that happens pretty much every week that is always so funny. So I do the podcast, and so I'm reading someone's bio. Now 99% of the time have not written the bio. Every once in a while I'll get something that's just not quite, and so I'll create their bio. But they or their PR firm or whoever sends me the bio. And so I do exactly what I did with you. I read the bio, and I can't tell you how many times somebody says, "Wow, I sound really good." And and it's like, you sent it to me. I can't say that on the air, but it is, they defer. And it really is funny because they sent me that information and then they go, "Wow, that sounded really good."
And Deb, that's usually my joke when I do some keynotes and workshops. I'll have the very important person read it off, and then I'll be standing up or going to the front, and I'll say, "And that right there is your first lesson in self-promotion because my team or I wrote that bio and it makes me sound good." And I'll say something like, usually they'll say, "Oh, I'm so surprised. Oh, you didn't have to include all of those awards in it."
Gosh. It's the humble brag. And you talk about the humble brag in your book.
Yeah. But just own it. Own those successes. And so usually I say after someone reads my bio, that is the first lesson. And that's where you want to be connected to people so that they will read your bio and then they will share it. And that's why in your bio, I want you to include all the good things and let people know so then they can amplify it. So it's really important. But yeah, the humble brag. Oh, please don't do that.
Oh gosh.
And humble brag is a complaint. It's like, it's usually a complaint with a brag. So, our people who are, coming after the bio, they're not complaining, but they're feigning the wins on that. And that's just not cool, not great with the disingenuous, the not
and
really.
It is disingenuous. I mean, it comes across really as, I want to tell them, so I should have just said, you were an author as opposed to #1 best-selling author or, things like that. And I mean, and clearly the big thing, they have to be true, folks. That's no. This is not the snake oil salesman. But I talk to people about this all the time with their LinkedIn profiles because they don't brag. They don't talk about their successes. And there's so many things on there that we're going to go on to the next person. But it's really funny. I had to have someone else write my profile because I had trouble writing it. And we do sometimes have trouble doing that. But then when I read it, I went, ooh, yeah, okay, we're going to own this. But I mean, you wouldn't go to a potential client who's interviewing you and say, "We do okay work."
Yeah.
Right.
That's what we do though. But that's what we do by not telling our stories or not claiming our position or claiming that award. We do that. It's like, well, I'm okay. And that's what it sounds like. And we wait for clients to ask us to tell our stories instead of saying, telling a story. Like, just tell the story. Don't wait for them to ask you. And I've seen so many instances where people have lost business because they're not ready with a good quality story to tell the potential client so they can say, okay, I really feel confident and secure in you taking my business on. And it's like, that's where we think people are going to do the legwork. No. You have to give them the bio. You have to give them the cheat sheet on LinkedIn so they can see all of your goodness right away and tick off the credibility boxes. So there is no doubt that you are the person that they'll feel confident and competent, that you are competent to do the work that you are wanting to do. Let's just go on to the next person. So that's why we have to claim it. But I do appreciate that you had to get someone to write your bio, especially since you're so talented in the world of PR. But when it's ourselves, we play the head game. And that's why I often tell people,
oh, should I say I'm an expert? Everybody says they're an expert.
Yeah. And that is the thing. People are tainting the word expert. Some people, though, when you talk to them, they won't even claim the word leader. They're so afraid of it. And so know that if you're not just somebody who's read, a couple books and watched a few TED Talks on it, you probably are the expert you think you are, and claim that and allow yourself. It's so funny in my workshops, I'll bring a little wand that my daughter had, or a little lightsaber, depending on the audience, and I'll anoint people as the experts and leaders that they are, because they need an outsider to say these good things. And I have a person in the book, Dr. Jacqueline Kerr, who talks about how she helps people with grants to make them, one of her person said it was grandiose light or something like that, because it was so far beyond her own language, but it was all true. But it's the turn of the phrase to say, yes, I am a best-selling author and I am doing these things, or, whatever it is, or I'm the top #1 researcher in this field, or I've been cited so many times, or I have clients that are, Fortune 500 or Fortune 100 or whatever it is that really gets you excited, or I'm the top person in my state or county or country. Those are really critical things to be able to say. But yes, you do have to be authentic and own it. It has to be true, but we have to say, well, it is true. And my version of the truth is out there. And let me put it louder and prouder.
And a lot of times I really do think about, how would a man say it? Because they're going to say, I am a #1 best-selling international author. And a woman might say, I've written a great book.
Absolutely.
And it's just no, and that's how, things are changing. I love that, things are changing. But little boys are taught it's okay to brag about yourself.
And we reinforce it in the workplace. Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah. And little girls are taught, oh, no, that's not ladylike. I'm like, we don't even know what that means anymore, right?
No, and we're taught not to take credit, right? So there's no I in team is so reinforced, and it's reinforced on social media, but there is I in credit. And I wish I'd written that in the book, but we need to be able to claim the credit that is ours, so people know, because credit goes where credit flows. Like credit, if you have received credit in the past for something, and then you want credit again, well, you have to show where, if Joe was a hero of the first project but the second project, he totally checked out. He brought the coffee at the end. People are going to give Joe the credit for the second project because they know that he's already done the job. Meanwhile, Sarah or Jane, they did the whole project, but they didn't take any of the credit or lay breadcrumbs. Or they markers.
Said, oh, I didn't do it alone. I mean, all of those things.
And so then they'll say Joe was on the team, and people will just remember Joe, and people will forget Sarah and Jane. And so that's a problem. You need to leave markers of success along the way so people will know that you are the successful person. And we've all had now clients that have left their companies, and so sometimes they bring us to the next one, but if you haven't left markers of success along the way to other people who are coming into a company, they're not going to remember to call you, or that you were that successful,
or they call Joe
projects, or they call Joe. And so that's a problem, because you did the work. And so we're so taught to not claim credit on things. And so I want us to rally and allow ourselves to claim credit, and also shine the light on other people. So often say, if you're on a team, you can say other people, did these things, and I did this. I did this, and they did that. And that's okay. But make sure you claim your credit. And I always want people to claim their credit first.
Right. Well, and especially if you were the leader of the team, because they wouldn't have accomplished what they did if you hadn't been a good leader.
Yeah.
And, and so you can say, it was great leading the team, and brag about what, and then you can say, this person did this, and this person did this, and this person did this, and it was team, but, and then you kind of reinforce, it was great to be leading these people.
And here's my contribution. If you're worried about bragging and getting into it, but you can say, here's my contribution, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And then, Jane and Sarah did this, right? And then Joe. So you can, but say your contribution first, and that my contribution softens a brag. And so, we don't want people to say, it's all in context too. So what youth might think is bragging is not. And bragging is often, the negativity around bragging is context, but it's also, if you're feeling jealous because someone's talking about success, what does that say about you and not the other person? So take it in if you feel like, oh, that's the wrong thing. And bragging rights is the name of my book. And we want people to have bragging rights. We cheer people on all the time. Okay, this school got bragging rights because they won. And it's in such an uplifting position. But when it comes down to the individual, we're not as confident, and bragging gets a bad rap. It's almost taboo. So this is a taboo topic that people feel icky about and concerned about, but it's something we need to break through and do it right now.
And we are so concerned that we're going to sound obnoxious. So again, what are some of the tips to be able to brag about yourself without people going, oh, there goes that Lisa again.
Dab right then and there. It's that if you are concerned about being obnoxious, you are not obnoxious. Just because people who are really the people that you're thinking of, they don't even think twice about it.
Right.
And narcissism is on a spectrum, and I'm not going to get into anywhere. I'm not an expert in it at all, but I've done a lot of research in it, and it is a spectrum. And nowadays we do need a healthy amount of a little bit of narcissism in our lives, because there's so many of us. And way back in the day when we were all part of farm culture and on the farm, and our grandmothers and grandfathers were right there talking, singing up our praises, maybe we didn't need to have these tools, but now we do, because we are now in a totally different society. And so we need to be able to talk about our successes, but it's that, people need to hear from us, our own words about what we think we're doing well.
Right. Yeah. And like we said, it is important to get those other people saying it too, and be about us, that's because it's really funny. We were talking before the program about online reviews, and, the positives. My first thought is, how, they wrote it themselves. There's really not a Sue B, right? They wrote it themselves. And, but at the same point, we assume people are going to think, well, hey, our product or service is the best, and we're going to tell them it's the best. And, and so I won't pay attention to an ad, and that is different. Saying, hey, we're the greatest, whatever in the world. But I'll pay attention to total strangers on Facebook, and things like that. So that's where it gets a little bit tricky too.
It does. And let me let you in on a secret. So as a new author, so my book came out in May of 2023. So it's still making the rounds. I did
still has that new book smell.
It has that new book smell. I have to actively, and you're taught and told by anyone who's been a successful author that you have to ask for reviews. Please give my book a 5-star review, because it will help seed the algorithm so other people can see it. And that's a little bit of what Beyonce did, right? So she had people help her with marketing and get all the things going you have to get your flywheel going. And so some of it is saying, please, could you give me a review on LinkedIn? Could you please give me an Amazon? And even writing them, some of them for it. So you can say, here's, I know you have no time because you're running a Fortune 500 company, but here's something like it could look like. And then they
please feel free to put it in your own words.
Feel free to do whatever you want. But I know you already think me as an expert, it's great. So go off of that, reviews are challenging though, because there's so much about context. And there was a time where people were paying for reviews, and I'm not going to be naive to think that they're not, but a lot of people, you have to ask for them. And when you see a review, you are looking at it and saying, is this something that I want to invest my time in or not? But authors, they're always asking, please send a review, please write a review. It just helps to make the difference in the successful book. And a lot of people, they have, 100,000 followers already before they write the book. which is great.
Mhm.
But for newer authors who are
Mhm.
getting a platform established, it takes time to
Mhm.
get it out
Right.
there. So I absolutely appreciate the people that have given me
Mhm.
the 5-star
Mhm.
reviews and that have also taken a
Mhm.
risk on a new book and a
Mhm.
new author. But it
Mhm.
also becomes part of, I've put my credibility out there.
Mhm.
They know me. I'm talking to so many
Mhm.
people and giving away a lot of my ideas for free. But it's really then, thank you for the
Mhm.
reviews. And I also, as a guest, I will often go back and say, here's a 5-star because I really
Mhm.
appreciated the time we spent
And I
together.
ask for them. That's the other
Good for
thing.
you.
You'll get a
Yes, you
follow-up
should.
email that says, please give us a LinkedIn recommendation.
And for our audience listening,
Mhm.
maybe you don't have a book or something that you're selling
Mhm.
directly that you'd want to review, but you do want testimonials
Mhm.
about your work quality or
Right.
about the product that you
Mhm.
have. Ask for them.
Mhm.
And when you get a lower one, don't worry about it. I
Right.
know our brains will go, oh my
Mhm.
goodness, I got a 4.
They gave me 4 out of 5 stars. What did I do wrong?
Yeah. And
Mhm.
it's, you know what, we just have to keep going and not
Mhm.
worry about those reviews
Right.
and just keep asking for
Right.
them. It's so funny. I will say this story about my my dear mother-in-law who I was doing a commercial podcast, so client was paying for it.
Mhm.
She's like, "Oh, I'll leave a review, but it's going to be a 3." And I was like, "Oh, why would you leave a 3?"
Right.
I was so,
Yeah.
your family, right?
Mhm.
And she said, it's because nothing is perfect, Lisa. So I can't give you a 5-star. And it's a cultural thing where it's like,
Right.
oh, I was like, well, maybe just don't leave it then, because it takes a
Yeah.
lot of work to get rid of that
Mhm.
3. And
Mhm.
she didn't understand how really,
Right.
how ranking really works.
Mhm.
And when people give it a
Mhm.
3, it was like, man,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
It's
really,
average, right?
it's
Especially if,
average.
yeah,
And
out
it's
of
like,
5,
it's not
it's
average.
average. Mhm.
But it's just that a lot of people
Mhm.
culturally, you know what, I'm going to make sure
Mhm.
that I take you down a peg or
Mhm.
2. So, but don't do
Mhm.
that to each other. I think it's really, how do we, you
Mhm.
want to be honest. Did you
Mhm.
like it?
Oh,
But if
yes.
you
Mhm.
didn't like it, maybe don't
Mhm.
say anything, but
Yeah.
5 stars are
Mhm.
what really makes the
Mhm.
difference for people.
Right.
So,
Well, and I've seen some, and I love it when, and I have clients who have done this too. They will say, please review us. If it's not a 5-star review, please contact us so that we can make it a 5-star.
oh, that's great
Yeah.
language right there. Everyone take that down right now. That
Mhm.
is really good on Deb's part. So yeah, how can we make this a
Mhm.
5-star experience for
Right.
you?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, you have to ask for it. And it's really funny. People do think they need permission. I discovered long ago when writing blogs, if I didn't say, and or like on LinkedIn, you do a post. If you don't say, what do you think? What are your thoughts? All of those people go, oh, no. I mean, there's that big blank box there that is that's what it's there for. But they somehow think that you need to tell them it's okay. It's okay to comment or to like or review or whatever. So it's perfectly acceptable to ask people to do that.
And it's perfectly acceptable to do it, Deb. I think
Mhm.
that's a challenge. Let's give it to your
Mhm.
audience right now, is to find one of our posts, find
Mhm.
this post of the podcast
Right.
and comment on it. And
Mhm.
it could really just be,
Mhm.
you don't have to come up with anything. I think a lot of us think I have to write something
Right.
earth-shattering
Uh-huh.
or unique.
It
You can
changed
just
my
copy.
life type of
Yes.
post. Mhm.
Just copy
Mhm.
something that Deb or I have said in this
Mhm.
conversation that really resonated with you,
Mhm.
and put in quotation
Mhm.
marks, Lisa or Deb said this,
Mhm.
and I liked it. Like, or
Mhm.
just
Right.
this resonated
Mhm.
with me, this quote. And it
Mhm.
doesn't have to be anything
Mhm.
more than that. Or wow, and the
Mhm.
quote.
Mhm.
But and then take that and make that a social post of
Mhm.
your own.
Right.
I really would love it if more people took to different we follow the same influencers
Mhm.
over and over again, like
Mhm.
Adam Grant and Brene Brown. Yes,
Mhm.
they have great things to
Mhm.
say, but so is that person who's right
Mhm.
around the corner from you,
Right.
or in the same
Mhm.
country, or in the same block,
Mhm.
and or in the same networking club that
Mhm.
you're in, or book club.
Mhm.
Why don't you comment and quote them for a
Mhm.
change? Because
Right.
that will spread thought leadership.
Mhm.
Because I worry that we're getting in some groupthink silos
Mhm.
on
Right.
things.
Mhm.
Find some different people
Mhm.
to support their
Right.
posts, and
Mhm.
just copy and paste something
Mhm.
that they said
Mhm.
in whatever it is that
Right.
they were writing, or
Mhm.
podcast, or whatever clip. Put it out there,
Mhm.
and you'll see
Right.
good things because of it.
Well, and I've got a great example of that written down on my little page for today for in my show notes. You use the phrase in your book, act with audacity. And I love that. I just thought that I'm like, oh, that's meme worthy, and all those various things. but I just love that. And so that would be a great thing, for me to go to Amazon and to say, I absolutely loved reading Lisa's book. So many great tips. My favorite was when she said, act with audacity, because one of the things that's going to happen is people go, what's that mean? Oh, I must read it to see what that means.
That's so generous of you, Deb, but I'm going to give you something back on that too.
Okay.
When I see that Deb's name is beside it and she's going to use her name
Mm-hmm.
there, then I'm going to say, oh, well, who's this Deb person? I
Mm-hmm.
like what she said.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to see what else she writes about,
Right.
and I'm going to follow her. So
Yep.
when you're complimenting me, thank you very much. I appreciate it. But it's also an opportunity for the person to then say, the reviewer to then say, hey, here's a piece of my thought leadership. I think this about this piece. And also, like, well, here's some more reviews, because it's all linked in some way, especially on Amazon. You can see what other things they've reviewed, and people click on names to say, oh, I really like what she's doing. What else has she read? And so it's a subtle, easy way of you getting out there. And on social media posts, like what the person says and put your name. They see your name.
Oh, I do that all the time on LinkedIn. I'm like, ooh, that's an interesting person. Maybe I need to be connected with them.
And then you're getting in their sunlight, right? So how do you get in someone's sunlight? You're commenting on the things that they're commenting on. You're actively engaging with them, not a sales pitch, but you're just saying, I'm acknowledging, I find this really remarkable, what you wrote. It's fascinating. Or this is the point I like the best. And then you're saying that, and people want that. And a lot of people, you're going to think a lot of people aren't doing their social media. They might have teams helping with them with it, but then they also get a report, or they check in once in a while, because they want to see, is what I'm doing resonating with people truly or not? And okay, I can see that Deb really liked my post, and now I have Deb way back in my brain, and I'm going to meet Deb one day. And it's like, oh, Deb's the perfect person. I have clients who got work from that. Neela. Right. She thought nobody was reading her posts at all because she wasn't getting any comments or likes on it. And it's that so many of us think that our voice doesn't matter. So we don't do it.
It's the tree in the woods thing.
Yeah. And then someone came along and contacted her directly and said, oh, Neela, I've been following your posts for so long. I really think you're the right fit for a client of mine. And then, so that happened. But don't give up then thinking that people aren't listening and looking and liking. They just don't feel like their comment matters. But you know what, audience, your comments do really matter. And it really can help shape the next body of work too.
Right. And I always tell people, when you get those comments, acknowledge them. And it's funny, I have these conversations with my clients, and we were talking about this before the show, positive and negative reviews, and I respond to every single one on behalf of my clients. I will, and I tell them it's really not for that person who wrote it. It's for somebody else who reads it. Because when we read and see, Lisa commented on this and this business responded and said, thank you so much, or said, oh my gosh, we need to fix this, or whatever. They always have the debate, well, should we acknowledge when something went wrong? Yes. That's when you really need to acknowledge and then try and fix it. Because we remember those things. I always tell people, think you're in a restaurant, right? And waiter goes by, drops an entire pitcher of ice water on you. If they go, well, it's your fault. Your purse was in the way. You're probably not going to go back to that restaurant. But if they say, oh my, even if they did trip over your purse, which was out in the way and all of those various things, if they say, oh my gosh, I am so sorry. And, because that's kind of, we just want acknowledged, and so, you don't, like I said, you're not going to say, well, you stupid person, your purse was in the way and I fell over it. You're just going to say, we're so sorry this happened. And then if you can try to make it better, so you would say, we were very, we're terribly sorry that happened. Come in and we'll give you a free hors d'oeuvre, or, something like that. Now, obviously you have to watch what you're doing, or you're going to have, 500 people that post that because they want free food. And even this, when you just get stars, go in and say thanks, because that person took the time, even if it was 5 seconds, to click 5 stars. I mean, acknowledge that and let them know, you thought it was great, because then the next time when they see you, they're going to think, ooh, I remember them. They treated me like I was worthy.
Oh, Deb, so many gems in that. Gratitude is one of the easiest ways for self-promotion, saying thank you, but also we're always earning social currency.
Right.
And so when you make,
and you talk about that in your book.
I do. So when we're putting our self-promotion out there, we're earning trust with our audiences. And I use the word audience for our clients and customers too, because you never know when somebody's going to become a client. So they might never be a client. They might always be a brand ambassador, but we have to constantly earn trust in this world that we are in today. And so when you trip and you spill that water on your client, they know that you've never spilled water there again before. And you probably won't ever do it again. And so you already have something out there that says, oh, no, I trust this organization. I trust this person. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt because they've already had a currency, social currency bank that's so high and so generous that it's okay. And so we will make missteps. You will get 1 star. You will make a huge mistake that people will see an egg on your face. But as long as you've built up that there's credibility behind you along the way, then people are willing to forgive and forget a lot faster, even on the social media that we have today. So it is challenging when we make those faux pas, but don't let your perfectionist tendencies also weigh you down in that too. Just, we do have to say sorry and move on with it.
Well, and you can kind of have fun with it too. I always look at hotel reviews, especially obviously it's a hotel I've never been at. So I'll go to TripAdvisor or whatever and look at the reviews. And this one was so funny. This person ripped this hotel. It was so noisy. The bar next door, everybody'd leave at 2 a.m. It was so noisy. Cars were honking, yada, yada. I mean, this was horrible. This was awful. These people were traumatized for life. And the response was, thank you so much, but I think you have the wrong hotel because what surrounds us is, and not bars. I mean, it was, and they said, please come visit us so that we can win back your trust, even though you've got the wrong place. And they could have just easily ignored it and thought, well, that's not us. We don't have a bar next to us. But they did kind of, but they did it in a way that was polite. They didn't say, you idiot, there's no bar next to us. They said, we think you might have the wrong location.
We're humans having a human experience, and some people just want to let off steam sometimes. So I think
sometimes you click the wrong button, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, well, it's so funny when we talk about bragging about ourselves in such a positive way. I was telling you before that I have this calendar. I love this calendar. It's a quote a day, and it's inspirational and business oriented type of business things. And I take a picture, I post it on Facebook without any context. I just post the image, and then it's kind of fun to see what people say. And so just last week, this one popped up. Work hard in silence. Let your success be your noise. And you and I had the same reaction to it. Ew, no, no. But it was so funny because other people commented and said, oh, how true. But it was women. The women commented and said, well, yes, we don't. But I just thought, well, that was an interesting thing to have in this inspirational calendar because we, and I don't know, maybe it's the word noise. Because to me, noise is a negative. Yeah. And so, but yeah, it was so interesting, especially that was just last week.
It's the whole, bragging violates modesty norms. And if you were that good, your work would speak for itself. And that's Adam Grant is the one who says something like that and constantly puts it out there on social media. And, it comes from a place of having power. So if you're that quiet about your work, then you're in a position of power because then someone is seeing you and seeing what you're doing. They're watching you. But most of us aren't in positions of power where our work is easily seen and heard by other people. Right. So it's when you're in proximity to power, maybe you can be silent about it. My concern is how many people are working in silence and burning out, thinking that eventually someone will see their work. Right. There's that Steve Martin quote too, be so great, they can't ignore you, but they can ignore you. Right. And they will take all that work that you're doing and claim it for themselves, or they'll just ignore you.
Or somebody else will claim it.
Yeah. And they're doing that work you're doing. It's that I'm doing 150% and then I'm burning out because I'm doing so much and nobody is noticing because I'm waiting on someone else. And so it's that self-advocacy piece that we have to turn on and say, it's okay. So flip it on its head from the waiting stance to saying, no, I need to self-advocate. I can't wait for someone else to notice me because otherwise my research, so many people reported that one woman said she lost for sure 7 figures waiting for other people to notice her, people with their maternity leaves and all these different scenarios because they waited for too long. Men reported losing clients because they thought their boss was going to help them with it, or, former client. And it doesn't work that way. We have to do it ourselves. And so that self-advocacy piece is something that we need to hold on. And so when somebody says those kind of things, I'm always like, how close to power are you that you can be silent? It's a luxury to be silent and other people to see your work and promote you. And you know what? When you get your flywheel going, that's at the pinnacle of this work, that people will just say, oh, right away, Deb is the person for this. I know that. And I can bring her in, but you have to be the person to get your flywheel going, get that wheel going by putting your things out there to, again, it may be just to one person or it might be to a million people, but they need to know how you're here to serve. But if you are waiting for someone else to help you in this world, you're going to be waiting an awfully long time. And what a shame. That's a shame.
Right. And you mentioned this in your book, and I love this, where, one person said she was waiting for her boss to tell people what a good job she had done. And she happened to say something about it. And her boss said, that's not my job.
Yeah.
And I thought, that was, I think we expect that they will say, hey, it was the team and this person did this and this person did this, but that's not their job. Their job is not to promote you. Now they can add on to it, so Lisa could say, hey, I, wrote this great book. And then I can say, oh my gosh, I loved interviewing you about it. But yeah, it's not their job to be promoting you.
It's not their job. It's a gift if they do.
Right.
But don't forget, people leave. Again, your clients will leave, your customers will leave there where they're working. And, if you are employed in corporate, your boss will leave, and he might leave without leaving anything behind to say, hey, actually all the work was on her.
Right. Yeah. Right? They're not going to do that. No,
they're not going to do that. And so again, with our clients too, when they leave and do something else, will they know, have you left the markers behind so that other people can see your success? And that's where we need to be talking about our successes and not wait for these other people. But yeah, that's such a sad story too, because she had to leave her one job to get to another place, and she was going to do the same mistake, putting it on her new VP to say, well, aren't you going to let me ride your coattails? Do not ride anyone's coattails, because that will be a very slow,
and they can rip
ride.
off.
And that's the burnout, or that's like, because they'll take your work. I look like a rock star by taking your work, but it's all your work. And yes, we do work on teams, and we do have to let our leaders take the work sometimes, but then we also have to keep track. And that's why I always say, people, keep your brag book, have that information ready to go, that either you're bragging to yourself saying, hey, I deserve that pat on the back because no one else is giving it to me, or something that you can take to your clients and say, hey, here's all the good work I've done, or you're a leader in whatever way. Or if you're getting that award, applying for an award, here's all the great stuff. I know I'm doing these things.
Yeah, you're not going to say, I did okay. You're going to say, because of me, the company earned an extra 25%, or, I brought 5 new clients in, or whatever, but again, it's that because of me part that's so important.
Yeah, the because of, that's a great joiner. And it also helps people accept it more. It's the because is just one of those words that people then, they don't hear your brag as self-aggrandizement. It's now neutralized, that people accept it. So it's interesting, but it's language and context are so many parts of it, but we need to make bragging standards so we can hear everyone and get those hidden gems front and center. So yeah.
Well, what about, you mentioned language, but there's a different language, because there is culture, different cultures. So, there are definitely other cultures in the world. And I know we have listeners from around the world where it is not acceptable, in many cases, especially for women to brag. But, there are also cultures where it is not acceptable for men to brag either. So how do we deal with that?
Yeah. And Deb, you're in the US and I'm in Canada. And that's why I really wanted to take an international look at this, because a lot of the research in the past that on bragging and self-promotion that say it's really bad and taboo is based on small university cohorts. So surveys that are about 20, 25 people, and that we're extrapolating. And when you're young, you want to fit in, but when you're older, we realize we need to fit in and stand out.
Right.
And
Mhm.
so coming from Canada, I wanted to look at it internationally.
Mhm.
And so looked at not only the US, where it's so funny because everyone thought it would be not my market at all for
Mhm.
this work. But I'm in fact hearing from so many Americans
Mhm.
saying, you know what, that is me. And
Right.
I even was in line, and a New Yorker said, I was giving her the premise
Mhm.
of my book. And I thought, oh, there's no way people from New York. And this is my
Right.
bias,
Mhm.
because you think,
Mhm.
but there's a lot of people there.
Mhm.
And she was well coiffed and on so many boards.
Mhm.
And I said, here's the premise of
Mhm.
Bragging Rights. And she said, Lisa, that book is entirely for me. I'm
Mhm.
Catholic. And so
Right. And
culturally, there's
you
so
were
many layers.
taught, yeah, you do not, you hide under the bushel or whatever it was.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Don't put your neck above the pulpit. Like there's so many
Mhm.
phrases that we could all pull
Mhm.
out. And so talking to people internationally that
Mhm.
are much more collectivist
Mhm.
societies. So in Japan, for example, they are very much, don't talk about it.
Right.
And
Mhm.
their phrase that they gave me. So I talked to a panel of women from Japan, and it's the tallest nail gets hammered first.
Mhm.
And they also have, I think it's Sasuri,
Mhm.
where they want people to be, your leader should be, or client should be a mind reader and know that you
Mhm.
want that
Right.
opportunity. Well, I would
Because
love it
you're
if we were
expecting
mind
them to be
readers.
intelligent and, all of those things. Mhm.
Yeah, and read the body language that I
Mhm.
want that promotion. But
Mhm.
people aren't, we're so busy in our
Right.
own world to
Mhm.
not have that. I also talked to people from Australia about
Mhm.
tallest poppy and
Mhm.
how people get cut down for
Mhm.
speaking out their truth and what
Mhm.
that looks like, and the research behind that. And then Janteloven, which is from Scandinavian
Mhm.
countries, that it's a set of not laws, but
Mhm.
laws that social constructs that
Mhm.
here's the way we behave,
Mhm.
and you shall not think that you're better than us. And it
Right.
goes on and
Mhm.
on and on. But then there's counters to that.
Mhm.
But in this global world that we're in, it's hard to play those games.
Mhm.
Talk to a woman from India who, they are now, she was taught to be very humble and
Mhm.
not talk about anything at all
Mhm.
success wise.
Right.
But now she plays with global companies and
Mhm.
works for global companies.
Right.
And so she's had to learn and realize,
Mhm.
yes, I do need to
Mhm.
talk about my successes.
Mhm.
And so many great stories like that help
Mhm.
illustrate that you're not alone.
Mhm.
And it's not just your culture.
Mhm.
And it is that so many of us have
Right.
been told that it is icky to
Mhm.
talk about our successes.
Mhm.
But a lot of that is so that people can then take our work
Mhm.
and run with it, and you'll still stay where you are. So that's
Right.
why I want so many of
Mhm.
us to brag and to talk
Right.
about our successes.
Yeah.
And when you feel like it's only me, I'm not supposed to because it's my culture.
Mhm.
My book points out that lots of
Mhm.
cultures actually have
Right.
the different feelings
Mhm.
around it too.
Mhm.
So
Right.
yeah,
And as you said, religions also. But yeah,
religions,
I
yeah,
was
lots
working
of.
with a delightful young woman one time from the Middle East, and she was talking about the fact that culturally, if she were, say, at a networking event, she could not just walk up and say, "Hi, I'm so and so." A male relative is who has to introduce her. So she said, I go to all these events with my uncle because he's in business and all of this stuff. And she said, I love LinkedIn because that's gone, and so she is able to introduce herself and connect with people from around the world and not have to have uncle make the introductions. And but yeah, so there are certainly ways for us, and especially now, I mean, this post-COVID world, we've all discovered it's a really small world.
Very.
And so it is okay to reach out and be connecting. Now, if you're still connecting with somebody of that same culture, maybe you need to think about it. But yeah, there are certainly ways to be able to use our technology and everything that we have to help yourself.
And that's the great thing is that, and we don't need to talk to a million people. Again, we can
Mhm.
talk to one person. And so
Mhm.
if you are able to just connect to that one person and then build
Yep.
relationships from there, and because
Mhm.
networking is great, but it's
Mhm.
networking to connections to
Mhm.
relationships.
Right.
And so, if your uncle is the way that's going to get you
Mhm.
in and has
Mhm.
started on it, then that's what it
Sure.
is. But then
Yep.
how do you take it beyond
Mhm.
and help yourself? And so that's where I'm getting back to the point of one person, because if
Mhm.
you're from a culture where it's really not allowed, but if
Mhm.
you're confiding in people who are in the same
Mhm.
context as you and letting them know, that's how
Mhm.
ripples will happen, because
Right.
it will go further
Mhm.
in a positive way. And again, if people are reacting negatively to your talk of
Mhm.
success, you're bragging, what does it say about them
Right.
versus what it says
Mhm.
about you?
Mhm. Right. And we're certainly not saying that you shouldn't ask for introductions. Just last week, I told somebody, I said, oh my gosh, I'm trying to meet so and so. And they said, oh, hey, we're connected with them on LinkedIn. Be happy to do an introduction.
Happy to.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Because they're going to brag about you, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to say, well, you should meet Lisa. She's kind of
Yeah.
They're going to say
give it
you
up
need to meet
people.
Lisa because she's written this great book. And I think she'd make a great speaker at your conference, or, whatever the reason is that you're doing that.
Thank you for saying that. But that's really what it is. How do you make it easier for people to check you out and know how you're here to serve? And so that's why we need to put, I was just talking to a group a few weeks ago, and they won an award a year ago, and they were like, oh, I guess it's too late. I'm like, it's never too late to post those awards. It's never too late to go back and say, hey, new winners of this award, I won it last year. Congratulations. It's okay to do those things, because then you're in community with people. And that's really what, when we talk about our successes, we build our communities, because then we can find people who are also successful, who also want to do good things in the world. So
we don't always have to include those dates. I mean, like, one of the things I say is that, I was recognized by the Colorado chapter of Women in Communications as their outstanding woman of achievement. Now, I don't have in there what year that was.
It doesn't matter. It's forever.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's not like they said, nope, a year went by. Nope, you're not that person anymore. But yeah, so interesting. Well, oh my gosh, Lisa, we have just chit-chatted the hour away. And this is so important. I think we have to have you on again, because it's just so important for people to know how to do this. And especially in this day of new technology and all sorts of things, when we're having to introduce ourselves differently. One thing you talked about in your book that we didn't get to at all is the 30-second elevator pitch, and how that does such a disservice to so many of us. So we'll have you on again. But tell us, how do people connect with you, and what are the services that you provide?
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. So, lisabragg.com, and it's Bragg with 2 G's. That's my website. And then I'm active on LinkedIn. That's my favorite place to play in the social media world. So find me there. Any other social media, I'm that Lisa Bragg. So find me, but my website is the easiest place, lisabragg.com. And I do have something for you if you are listening and want to get a free tool. It's at lisabragg.com/listener-love. And it's a little tool that will help you get going on your success and storytelling and thinking about content that's easy to use. Those are the places to find me. And then what do I do? Well, I have the book. It's new out in the world, and you can buy that in any retailer in the world. So that's really exciting. It's available ebook and paper and audiobook too now. So that's an exciting thing. And the book is one thing, but it's really, I give workshops and I'm a speaker out helping companies to really help their people to be seen and heard. And I am going to host, I've been asked to do some public event workshops. So I'm going to be doing those in the next little while. So if you want to come along on the journey, follow me and find me, and I'll be reporting back more about that as people want more from the book. It's so exciting to see the book, be brought up and be successful, that people say, okay, now what's next? And that's what we want. We want people to say to you, hey, what's next? And that's,
this is great. Now, what do I do?
Yeah. And that's what I'm really excited about. So those are the things. How I'm here to serve is really through helping people be seen and heard, and often working with companies in different ways for that. So
perfect.
Yeah, thank you.
I love it. Well, again, it's lisabragg with 2 G's.com. And we will have the link to the listener love in our show notes. This really has been such a fun conversation, and I can't wait to do it again. But until then, do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave everyone with?
Well, I'd love to go back to one of the things you said near the top, and you really liked when I wrote about audacity. And so could I just spend a minute to read a quick passage from it? It's close to the end, but bragging rights are about audacity. It's about owning your worth to get the opportunities you deserve. It's about standing out and fitting in. It's about celebrating both the success and the journey to get there. It's about gratitude. So we have to be able to say thank you, knowing we are thankful to those who have come before. And it is also about changing the system so that we can all have a better future. And it's about asking everyone to show their work instead of letting some people get a free pass while others are told to work harder. So I think that's really an important piece, is that, like, how can we improve things for all of us and to really make sure more people are seen and heard? And bragging is the way to do it in the easiest way, because you've already had the success. You've already done the things. Now it's time for you to get the opportunities you desire and deserve. So I appreciate this opportunity to talk to you today. Thank you.
I love it. I love it. Well, again, we have been having such a great conversation with Lisa Bragg. She is the author of Bragging Rights: How to Talk About Your Work Using Purposeful Self-Promotion. Can't wait to chat again. I'm Deb Creer, and until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.